Hey, good morning. Happy Tuesday. It is so lovely to see everybody. Happy 2022. I will say I am so glad that I got to make Carlos Martinez happy this morning by playing some Jamiroquai. That's always a good way to start the year. Who's feeling a little bit like virtual insanity at this point? Yeah, I don't know about you, but hey, we make do with what we've got, right? So I think my job this morning, besides wishing you all a very happy new year and being excited to be back in front of you, so glad to see everybody, is to pivot us right to Tammy Tuesday, though I'm not sure I see my friend Tammy, so we may have to vamp a little bit. All righty, so maybe Tammy forgot that it was Tuesday today. I don't know. But we'll give her just another minute. So let me move to some calendar comments for you this morning, and then I have some challenges and a quick review or conversation around real estate COVID protocols. Oh, zippity doo dah! What a wonderful way to start the year. Yep, we got some live mics, Mr. Adonis Chamblay, but that's okay. So calendar for today, tomorrow, and Thursday. I believe that Debbie Orr is bringing back her business builders, and so she'll be on at 9:30 on her Zoom channel, so do plug into that. Yesterday, Joe started a new 2-week session of command training, so that's every day, Monday through Thursday, this week and next week, in the Zoom rooms that Joe sent out over the weekend. Again, they are in different Zoom rooms different links than this room, and that happens at 11:30 every day. So do plug into that. Our main training this week, as we get everybody acclimated and back into the swing of things, is Thursday at 1 o'clock, and that is going to be you and your goals. So come and have a conversation around getting yourself squared away with your goals. With me on Thursday. That's 1 o'clock. We'll spend an hour. We'll kind of brainstorm through implementing the business plan that you've written. If you haven't written a business plan, show up anyway, and we'll make sure that you have one by the end of that hour. So I'm excited to get back in the classroom with all of you to start off 2022. All right. So before I move forward, let me just make sure, is Tammy here? Yes,
I'm
Tammy's here. Okay, so let me push it over to Ms. Tammy Kranich. Up somewhere. Go ahead, Tammy, start talking and I'll find you.
I'm here. There we go. Does that work?
Yes. There you are.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. For some reason, the link wasn't working. Sent me in a little bit of a panic. Happy Tuesday. Couple of things. Want to tell you that I'm sponsoring a webinar this morning this afternoon at 12:30. I will put the link in the chat. But it's a half-hour webinar. It's free, and it's about how to get more leads. Who doesn't want more leads going into this market? Also want to talk to you guys today. I want to talk to you guys specifically about the pros and cons of FHA, an FHA loan. I had a buyer who the best loan for them was an FHA loan. They were going to get a 2.99% interest rate, but the listing agent had this stigma against FHA. And I've been hearing this a lot, like, oh, FHA loans aren't going to get accepted. Listing agents don't want to take FHA. Buyers are afraid of FHA. So I wanted to kind of go through the mechanics of FHA as it pertains to you guys. I don't want you to be afraid of them. Like every loan, you need to do your due diligence. You need to call the lender and find out and ask, because I've had some of them ask me, why are they going FHA and not conventional? In the case of my buyer, they were going FHA conventional because they were 25 years old. They don't have a lot of credit and they couldn't get approved for a conventional loan. So FHA was approving them at 3.5% down versus conventional, which wanted like 20% down. So don't be so afraid of FHA. So the pros and cons. The biggest pros, it offers a low down payment of 3.5%. It is not credit score driven, which means if your client has a 620 credit score, they can get a really good interest rate. It is not the listing agent's business to know what their client's credit score is. It's also forgiving when life happens. Guys, we've all had life happen to us. Some of us lost our jobs, had sickness. Something happened that caused a bump in your credit. FHA is more forgiving on that. It forgives foreclosures at 3 years. It forgives a Chapter 7 bankruptcy at 2 years. So it's more forgiving. It also allows a buyer more buying power. You guys are salespeople. You want them to buy more house. It allows them to buy more house, 5% more house, to be honest. In some cases, it could be like 5 or 6% more house, depending on their credit. Now, cons, not so much for you guys as not so much for us, but for them, they will have to pay mortgage insurance. If they put down less than 10%, they will have to pay mortgage insurance for the entire 30 years that they own this mortgage. Now, if you're dealing with me, they're certified mortgage advisor, I'm not going to have them in that mortgage for 30 years. They're going to come out of it as soon as they can. It is only for primary homeowners. It is not for investors. It is not for investors. If they're buying, it is also limited by county. So there are loan limits per county. So most drastic is if you go from Fairfield County to New Haven County or Hartford County, huge difference in loan limits. So you have to make sure you're paying attention to those limits. And then the other thing, if they are getting a gift, again, doesn't pertain to us as the sales team or your sellers, but if they're getting a gift, the money has to be completely verified all the way back to the person who gave them the gift. We need to see that the donor had the money in their account to begin with. So misconceptions. FHA is a poor people loan. I actually had somebody tell me that a couple of weeks ago. I was shocked to hear that, but FHA is a poor people loan. Definitely not true. It's going to take longer. It doesn't take any longer than any other loan. Appraisals are just as slow or just as fast as a traditional conventional loan. The appraiser is going to be harder. Appraiser is looking for health and safety issues. So if the appraiser goes out there and the banister is wobbly, yeah, that's going to be something that has to be dealt with. If they go out there and there's peeling paint, yes, that is something that's going to have to be dealt with. But we all know the solution to that, right? My renovation loans. That's something that could be dealt with after. In some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, I've been able to do an escrow holdback. And some of that stuff, as long as the contractor is paid for, set up, everything is ready to go, and the work is going to be completed within 10 days of closing, I have been successful at getting an escrow holdback on things like peeling paint, the water is not turned on, things like that. So going into this year, please do not be afraid of FHA. It is not a bad loan. It is a great loan. It gives your buyers a lot more buying power, and it's a good loan for people who need it. So happy Tammy Tuesday. Join me today at 12:30 if there's not something going on here. Rick, you're muted.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's always fun. I'm not sure. I never mute. I don't know how that occurred. That was an error on, well, I guess it ends up being an error on my part. I was going to say a production error, but since I'm the production as well, it's all on me. All right. So thank you, Tammy. We appreciate you as always. Happy New Year. It was lovely to have you. And we look forward to a 2022 that is exciting. So a couple of challenges I wanted to throw your way. And so to make sure that we have the time that we need to talk about our real estate COVID fun, I do want to split this up. I'm going to give you one challenge today, and I'm going to give you 3 more challenges tomorrow. So you have to come back tomorrow, all 136 of you. Woo, baby. Ratings high. I love it. And just for those of you who are here just because you didn't have anything else to do this morning, we do this every single morning at 9 o'clock, and it's just as much fun as it is this morning. You get music, you get Tammy, you get Jose, you get a member of Westport Mortgage, you get your team leaders, you get lots of fun and excitement. So do join us every morning at 9 o'clock, and we'll see you back tomorrow for the other 3 challenges. Your challenge for this, for today, however, is it's kind of it's a support and solidarity challenge. Your team leaders yesterday began a program called 30, 60, 90. And what they are doing is they have plugged into a coaching program for the next 90 days to help them push and grow from where they are in their abilities to run and grow our market centers to where they want to be, right? And so at some point you need to look around and say, I've moved myself about as far as I can move myself, and now I need some external assistance and pressures. And so they enrolled in this awesome coaching program through MAPS. They each have, they're each now coaching for the next 90 days daily, by the way, daily. That means every day, just in case you were unclear, right? With one of the MAPS head leadership coaches. So those are the coaches of coaches, right? That's who they're now coaching with. And as part of that program, they have been asked to read 2 books a week. Yes, that's correct. 2 books a week, right? And so after they picked themselves up off the floor and decided that what they heard was actually right, we dove in and said, okay, well, which 2 books are they? And so what I personally decided to do to support them in that task is I pledged to read the same 2 books every week that they have now been asked to read. And the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, that's just external pressure on me to do something I want to do anyway, but don't ever seem to make the time to do for myself. So my challenge to you in support of your team leaders is that I will announce to you every week what those 2 books are, and let's just read those books or audible those books, however you're doing it. Let's all get that information. This week's books are these 2, the Mrea, which most of you know, and this book called Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones, right? 2 great books. Some of you have read them. If you've read them before, read them again this week, right? And so you have this week to get those taken care of, and we'll do our best to give you as much time as possible when we know what the next week's books are, so you can grab them from wherever you're going to grab them. But who's in on that? Who's in on filling your brain with really good stuff and implementing off of some of the great information that is available in these books? I'm really excited to have it kind of change our world, and we'll be supporting our team leaders at the same time, and then all talking the same language, which is fun. P.S. We're also doing an MREA book club, which starts next Monday at 11 for 4 weeks. So 4 Mondays at 11, except the second Monday, which is MLK Day. We'll push it till Tuesday on that day. So we'll spend an hour together kind of running through a quarter of that book so we can get real deep on the implementation. So we're excited to do that as well in January. That doesn't mean don't read it this week. Read it this week so you're ready for the book club starting next Monday. So that's my first challenge. Again, I have 3 more challenges for you, but we're going to save those till tomorrow. So do come back. Let's pivot, if we could, to some conversations around pandemic protocols. I've been getting a lot of questions about this lately, and so I wanted to just address it with you publicly. As most of you know by now, we did have an awesome celebration party scheduled for next Thursday, which we have now postponed based on the current environment. And so we are working hard to choose a date in either May or June that will now go off at the Greenwich Hyatt. Nothing changes except the date about that and the amount that we're celebrating, right? We're just going to choose to celebrate an extra 6 months instead of the last 2 years. We'll do a whole 2.5-year celebration back in May or June. So do know that is in the works. Your job between now and then is to just pray that things calm down and we can all just get together and not have to worry about it by May or June. Number 2, in response to some local ordinances, the mayor of Stamford has now changed the rules again. And so our building in Stamford has some new rules. And so what we've decided to do is just in anticipation of new rules kind of rolling out as they did in Stamford, our buildings starting today will go back to our indoor mask policy that says, regardless of your vaccination status, if you're going to be in public in the building, we will be wearing masks in the public spaces, right? And so that means the kitchen and the computer areas when you're walking around, right? The lounges, when you walk into the building, right? It's, again, our goal is always to make decisions that keep you and your family safe, keep you healthy, and keep you moving forward so that you can continue to earn the living that is important to you. Number 3, family reunion. A lot of people have been asking about what's happening with family reunion. Is it going to be canceled? Is it not going to be canceled? I don't believe they are going to cancel it. And so if you are registered to go on site, and that is still something that you want to proceed with, I would encourage you, get your hotel rooms, do your airfares, do whatever you're doing, because I do not believe that that is going to change at this time. I think if they were going to cancel it, it would have been canceled already. I know what's happening in Florida. I know all those things that you're reading as well. I do not believe they're going to make a decision to cancel it. That's today. I could be wrong by this afternoon. However, I don't think that's going to happen, at least as of the information I have this morning. And then, of course, for those of you who choose not to travel down to Florida, family reunion is just as accessible to you. You just need to go and register because the digital version is happening regardless of what's going on in the world. So either do that from the office, do that from your living room, or get on a plane and go to Orlando. But do plug into family reunion. Let's start driving those numbers north so that we can all participate in that. And lastly, a lot of you have asked about COVID protocols in terms of real estate. What happens when a seller of mine calls me and says, I just tested positive? Like, what do I do? And so the simple answer that I have for you this morning is there really are no official rules. There aren't market center rules. There aren't local rules. There aren't industry rules, right? We had a lot of that in place 2 years ago as all this was coming into play and new, and we were all adapting to that environment. But the idea today is that, you know, we're in a different phase of this whole thing. We're in a you learn how to live with it phase of this whole thing. And so what I would encourage you to do is know and understand what the CDC guidelines are. I'm going to send them out later today, but know what they are because they change, and they changed again about 10 days ago, right? And so I want to just read to you what the new CDC guidelines are in case you have a seller who calls and says, I just tested positive, now what do we do? The answer is, for people who test positive, you stay at home and isolate for 5 days, regardless of whether you have symptoms or not, right? It's a 5-day isolation period is what the CDC says now. If you have no symptoms, or if your symptoms have gone away after 5 days, you don't have to isolate anymore. They still encourage mask use for the next 5 days for a total of that then 10 days, right? If you have a fever, isolate until you don't. And there's no need to test out of isolation, right? You're not waiting for a negative test because not everybody gets a negative test after 5 days. Although after 5 days, based on what the CDC is saying, you're no longer infectious. So that's the simple answer to what many of you are asking about in terms of what do we do if in fact there's a positive case in one of our listings. My answer personally is you have a conversation with the seller, right? If the seller is sick, the seller should just stay home. If the seller is going to be staying home, well, that means it's harder for showings to happen, right? Because now you have people coming into the house. So that might mean you suspend showings for 5 days, right? And people have been asking me about, well, what about disclosure? What about disclosure? My personal opinion is you talk to the seller and then you get the seller's okay to just simply say to people who are calling, hey, you know what, someone tested positive, we're going to have to hold for 5 days, please schedule showings for 5 days from now. Like that, it's not hard. And so here's my main thought for you this morning is we all now live with this every single day. And so don't make it weird, don't make it hard, don't make it into something that it's not, right? We're not signing papers to release information, we're not breaking HIPAA laws. Like, we're not doing all of that. Don't make it difficult. Just make it simple. Have a conversation with your seller, right? It always starts with the seller if you're a listing agent, or have a conversation with the buyer if you're a buyer's agent. Just be open and use a common sense approach. Debbie just put in the chat, common sense, right? Use a common sense approach to all of this and you'll be fine. Here's what you shouldn't do. Don't say to people, you know what, let me find out what the rules are around that, because that already makes it more difficult than it needs to be. I just told you what the rules were. The rules are follow the CDC guidance. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing for the offices. If people test positive and when can they come back to the office? Well, it's the same 5-day rule, right? And because you don't test out with negatives anymore, right? All those things that used to be are now no longer. Right. So moving forward, it's a common sense approach. It's the idea that conversations with your clients and disclosure to those around you and them is where I land on all of this. And I encourage you to push forward with those kinds of protocols as well. So nothing official. That's about as official as it's going to get. Guys, that's my time this morning. I hope that was helpful. Have a fabulous day. We will see you back here 9 o'clock tomorrow, also throughout the day for Debbie and Joe's sessions. Have a great day today. Welcome back. Happy 2022. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.